Welcome in, everyone. We are in NFL Week 4. It's BTB Analytics. Seth, Kevin, and Steve back with you. We got a lot of good matchups to break down, some data, some edges, maybe some other fun surprises for you. So stick around for it all. Let's get right into it.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today.
All right, Week 4 is here. Season. I say it almost every week. It's flying by, baby. We got no time to waste, though. We got a lot of matchups to break down. Got a new segment for you guys this week, and also going to be showing off a little bit, some new stuff that we got on our website that we're offering folks too as well. So a lot of good stuff. But let's get into some marquee primetime matchups here first. Thursday Night Football, first game up on the slate. We got the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. From our perspective, modeling standpoint, we make this number 6, a slight edge favoring the Cowboys here, but not enough for it to be a play here. But Seth, I want to kick it off to you here. Thursday night matchups, have historically just that kind of ick vibe to them. Most of them just aren't good games. Are you expecting a similar kind of vibe with this one here, or what's something you're keeping your eye on?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true for Thursday night. I really don't know what to make of this game. It's really tricky. I mean, the market has bought this since open, kind of agreeing with us here. The market right now is sitting at 5.5. We make the number 6. The question I have here, I have questions for both of these teams. They're both very perplexing, to be honest with you. Dallas right now, we're looking at the 23rd overall pass EPA team, 13th rushing EPA team. The Giants, on the other hand, are kind of a little bit more of who we thought they were. 20th in the pass, 21st against the rush. But the Dallas Cowboys defense is probably the most perplexing to me. Dallas's defense, 14th against the pass. Okay, that's probably maybe where we'd put them, maybe top 10. The rush, they're the worst in the league against the run. They're 32nd out of 32 teams. That is not what we think about when we think about the Dallas Cowboys, and they have struggled defensively. The questions I have on New York, though, are who are they? We saw them have a little bit of success against Washington, but it's kind of coming into a little bit of a lens right now that Washington's defense is really what's struggling and their offense is really good. So how impressive is that? And then they obviously beat up on the Browns, but what do we do with that? So I don't know. This is a really interesting team, really interesting game to me. I don't know what to make of it. I think it could stink to high hell, but that being said, New York's gotten beat the hell out of by Dallas the last 2 years. So I got to imagine this has been circled that like, hey, we got to at least get like a first down and like a 3 and out, or at least once in this game. Let's start with that.
Right.
If I was the Giants, I'd be kind of like nervous just to get that out of the way.
Yeah. Yes. And Steve, to Seth's point, kind of middle of the road, the Cowboys are in terms of defending the pass, but they're third worst in the league so far through 3 weeks in havoc plays on defense. So any play that results in a sack, negative yardage, tackle for loss, pass deflection. And to Seth's point too, like that is not who we've kind of come to know the Dallas defense being over the past couple of years. So yeah, as you kind of digest all this, I mean, is there any angle here that you're thinking of that might even be worth taking from a betting perspective personally, or for anyone else listening?
I don't know, man. This is going to be a good old-fashioned suck-off. No Diddy. These two teams are just bad, man. They're bad. I mean, Seth, you already talked about the ranks and whatnot, but I want to reiterate, these two teams both have negative offensive EPAs, okay? They're both running and passing the ball. And we talked about on this podcast last week the matchup against the Ravens, where this was Dak's chance to get right. We saw Baltimore EPA per play. They struggle against the pass. This was a get-right game for Dak. And through 3 quarters, he did absolutely nothing. And I'm not ready to say that he's turned a corner. He did have a hell of a 4th quarter. But again, we know the Ravens' pass defense is bad. And we know the Ravens blow 7-point leads in the 4th quarter. Death, taxes, and Ravens blowing the lead late in the game. So I don't know how much of that I'm ready to say this on the Cowboys here. And then on the other hand, I do want to be a little bit fair. We talk about the Cowboys defense and how they have the worst rushing defense in the league, and how we saw the Ravens, we predicted the Ravens going to carve them up. But if we want to be fair here, Devin Singletary is not Derrick Henry. Devin Singletary is not Lamar Jackson running the ball. And New York's pass defense is even worse than the Ravens is. So Dallas should have a better of a time here. I think -4 is fair. The market has some confidence pushing up to -5.5. But I mean, this is a classic Thursday night game. Like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. I'd rather watch baseball. Like, this is gonna suck.
Damn. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, but I mean, to your point though, is it like I agree with a really important point you made there. Like, okay, you could kind of like conceptualize if you don't look at the data, like, oh, this is the game Dak gets right. I'm not sure about that. 23rd right now, passing the ball, going against the 15th best pass defense. Like, this isn't necessarily the recipe for Dak to get right. I don't. If you have to bet this game, I think you have to like just be a contrarian. You have to bet New York because there's more variance in New York on what you're getting. We've seen fits and starts at least. Have we seen that from Dallas? Dallas, shout out Cowboys fans. Like, I guess the worst thing actually is you not winning at all versus the Cowboy cycle of life. I think they'd probably rather be in the cycle of life right now. I think if you got to have actions, unfortunately, I think you have to take New York. There's just more variance there.
Yeah, and I think you also have to look. I mean, I haven't seen any player props post up yet, but you got to take a real hard look at these rushing props for Giants. I mean, again, we saw Baltimore put up 274 yards on the ground against the Cowboys. I'm not saying that Giants are anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I would definitely be looking at, shout out Unabated with their player prop simulators. I'm definitely looking at variances on these Singletary rushing props, things like that, and see what the lines are, see if there's some value there because this defense is absolutely trash.
Yeah, even scrambles for Jones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that over-under is going to be right around 12, 15-ish. You only have to bust off one. I mean, they're struggling. Dallas is struggling. And it's exacerbated when you want to be Super Bowl every year. When you start this kind of slow, it feels like the house is more on fire than I think most teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so props have posted definitely for the Thursday night game. So just real quick to tie this point off. So rushing attempts, Devin Singletary, his over under is 14.5. Jones is at 6.5. And then we talked about rushing yards, right? Maybe that's a potential angle. Jones 31.5 is his over under, and Singletary is at 60.5. So interesting. I don't know. Something to think about.
I would go look at some scrambles. What have other quarterbacks done? To your point, you talked about havoc, Kevin. I mean, this is something that when we first started out, there's like the classic SP plus like stats, like explosiveness and havoc. Those are two like big variables everyone kind of talks about. We built these out, we tested these, not predictive. And my theory on why they're not predictive is because they're literally variables of variance. It's just how often can you count on getting a sack? It's not something you can just like hang your hat on. How often can you hang your hat on a 80-yard bomb? You can't. So it shows up in the stat line and the stat like, oh, look at all these explosives, but it's really difficult to actually say, okay, well, this team is going to be good for X amount of explosives or X amount of havoc. Like it just doesn't pan out. So I'm not surprised to see a team that's had a lot of it all of a sudden go to like a spell of dry because it's really difficult to maintain that.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Yeah, for me, unless there's something catches my eye on the prop line right now, I'm kind of staying away for it. And I'm just kind of to your point, Steve, I'm going to be waiting for the weekend to get here. So get through this Thursday night game and onto the real slate. But I don't know, Cowboys fans, is it your year still? Let us know in the comments if you're here. Do you guys take this game? Or Seth, go ahead.
Oh no, you finish your
okay.
thought there.
So because I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards you guys though. I think probably the better play in terms of value is going to be on the Giants to lay the points. But let us know what you guys think in the comments because this one I could go either way with it. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah. Free play for all you college people that aren't wanting to watch this. We have a play in college. We're on maybe this is even grosser. We're on Temple plus 13. So if you want to watch that's what we're on. Temple plus 13 versus Army. I'm sure that'll be a real barn burner. Maybe
the real sickos.
Yeah. That's where my time is going to be spent. So if you want to come sweat that with us, go look up that because that's going to be, I don't even know, that's going to be on like WBN or something.
That out. All right. Thursday night will be, we'll see what happens here. But moving on to the Sunday slates. Before we jump into the next matchup, don't forget to hit the like video, guys. Please subscribe to the channel too if you can. Helps us out tremendously. We're here every week trying to break down matchups, trying to give you edge cases to think about betting into various markets here. So we truck on. Sunday slate. Let's hop on over to a divisional matchup. New Orleans Saints going up against the Atlanta Falcons. So again, a little bit of value from our perspective on the Saints. We made the number 2, and this opened at 1.5. So slight edge to New Orleans here. But after last week's showing for the Saints against the Eagles, Steve, I mean, people were expecting that matchup to be kind of a strength on strength, offensive firepower. Like both defenses, or excuse me, both offenses kind of came back down to earth a little bit, right? And that's just kind of to be expected. Derek Carr and that team had been showing out for the first couple of weeks. So coming off of that performance and juxtaposing what they've done though to this to date, throughout the first few weeks, what's your angle? How do you break down this matchup in this is in Atlanta, right? Yeah, so in Atlanta.
Yeah, I got to be honest here. I'm really shocked that this market opened up favoring the Saints and favoring the Falcons and moved to continue to favor the Falcons here. I mean, yeah, I get it. And the Saints offense finally looked human against the Eagles. Eagles held them to a negative 0.241 EPA per play. Like that's not good for offense that has been otherworldly. And quite frankly, an Eagles defense that we had just talked about the week prior really haven't fixed up a lot of their holes. As we saw in their loss against the Falcons. So this was pretty eye-opening to me. Now, with all that being said, the Saints still were leading late into that game. It just happened to be an explosive play with that 60-yard pass to Dallas Goedert, which set up the Saquon touchdown. That's kind of all she wrote there. But on the other side, I had found myself asking myself, are the Falcons good? I mean, don't look now, but they lost the opener to Pittsburgh, but then they beat the Eagles on that game-winning drive, and they really should have beaten the Chiefs. And listen, shout out that they didn't because we were on them, but they shouldn't have beaten the Chiefs if it weren't for a questionable no call. But then for me, what it comes back down to is what are we looking at? The Saints are elite on both sides of the ball, defense and offense. The Falcons are average on defense, kind of ranking 15th total on overall EPA per play, and they're below average on offense, ranking in the bottom third. So I put all this together, and it's really hard for me to back the Falcons here. And a lot of it really just seems like recency bias, right? The Saints got shut down. The Falcons, played well against, the number 1 team. It's the Chiefs season again. But for me, I got to take the Saints. And I know it's not a model play for us, but that's something that I'm definitely eyeing.
Yeah, I think you're spot on here. I mean, for me, we talked about it last week. The thing that we're trying to figure out this season is who the Saints are offensively. They obviously came out red hot the first 2 weeks, struggled against Philly, and we saw Philly kind of approach that game very differently, and that ended up being a defensive matchup, and they did something very different in that game. And the question becomes, what do we do with that data point? Because is Philly now going to be good on defense? I mean, there was a lot of touting going on about how this is going to be much improved, new defensive coordinator. They went and got a bunch of secondary pieces, defensive line pieces. I think you've asked the question, is Atlanta good? And I don't really know what to do yet with the data and what we have. But if we look at based off what they put on the field against some better teams, I'll give you that. We're looking at Atlanta being the 16th overall passing team, 29th rushing. So they've struggled offensively, especially running the ball. And then defensively, we're looking at the 20th passing defense and the 23rd rushing defense. But again, the Saints, this is a team defensively. They were good last year. They're good this year. We're looking at 6th against the pass, 9th against the rush. But now we're seeing a Saints team that's top 10 in pass and rush offense. So for me, I love New Orleans just like you. I'm against the market on this. I think that the question for me that I thought was interesting looking at the data, we're seeing a 2.5 points added per game for Kirk Cousins for the last 10 games. But in his career, Kirk Cousins is actually good for about 3 points per game. So we're missing out on a half point per game from Kurt. And I wonder if that's something to do with him being injured. Are we going to see him gradually get better over the season? The other thing too here is that he looked very susceptible to pressure pretty much all of the weeks. I don't know that the Saints game is the game he's going to get less pressured. And so for me, I'm with you. I think Saints is the play here. I think you're better off. I think there are 2.5s in the market, but I think you're better off just taking the money line here in a divisional matchup. These teams hate each other. I'm sure it'll be just a kind of normal, rock throwing fight, just like it was last weekend for the Saints. But I think the Saints are the right play against Atlanta here.
One interesting angle that I've kind of been paying attention to first couple of weeks of the season is how teams are performing out of the gate. So on scripted plays, as kind of it's known, right? So those first 15 plays on offense. So no one has been better in the league through the first 3 weeks than the Saints on EPA per play on scripted plays. Falcons, for what it's worth, are just below league average in terms of EPA per play allowed. And I took a little bit of action for the first time last week after observing for 2, and sprinkled on, took the Saints on the spread money line, and the Cardinals as well, because the Cardinals are actually number 2. One the Saints, pushed the Cardinals, but I'm looking at this week again in this matchup in particular. The odds for the first quarter spread, so this is derivative market, are kind of interesting. So the best odds you can get are -150 for Saints plus 0.5. And that, I mean, it's a little rich for my blood. But the value might be there for me, because what Clint Kubiak, I think, has done with this offense, I still think can't be understated or undersold. So he clearly seems to be, and this tracks through what this tracks to last year too, when Kubiak was with the Niners. Like, they had a very similar, one of the highest EPA per plays for scripted plays throughout the whole season. So this is one kind of derivative angle or play that I'm looking at. I think the Saints could probably at least win the first quarter, and so that's one little tidbit I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah, I like it. The other thing I saw too is overall through the whole game, Atlanta is struggling with their drives. Only a 40% echo rate. Now they've played quote unquote better teams. I'm not sure though, to be honest, if Philly is actually a good defense or not yet. But I mean, that's not great. So to your point, maybe in those scripted plays, Saints can come out on that first drive. But overall in the game, I mean, Atlanta's going to have to bump those numbers up if they're going to stay in most of these games. But to your point, Steve, you said, I don't know if it is Atlanta good or not. I mean, we forecasted them to go under their 9.5. I think they're lucky to be having one win right now. I think they snuck a win out of Philly that they probably should not have.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So it should be good divisional matchup in this one. Let's move on down the slate, shall we? So next up, Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mentioned it right before we started recording. We're kind of early in the week still. Injury reports just coming out, but damn, Tampa Bay looks like they could have quite the laundry list of players either banged up or out for this game. You said 16 players,
16
Seth?
players on the injury report for Tampa Bay.
And on the flip side, the Eagles don't have as many, but they have key guys out.
Yeah,
A.J. Brown still out. Devontae Smith with the concussion. Dallas Goedert ended up on the list already. So
Lane Johnson.
Yeah. So this could be one of those weird high variance games. So from our standpoint, modeling standpoint, again, really no edge to be had or found from either side here. But injuries aside, Seth, kind of all things being equal here, I feel the same way about this one as you do, or as you kind of articulated about the Thursday night game. Like, I'm not really sure what to make of this one or what to expect.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, Philadelphia, the way Philly played offensively and defensively last weekend was wild. The biggest note I can say here is Eagles have an echo rate of 60%. I hope somebody in that analytics department is going to Sirianni and like spray canning his car, like kick goddamn field goals, man. Like they should have easily won that Saints game. It didn't need to be a nail biter. He's leaving so many points on the field. And I don't understand why. I mean, they're driving the ball, but they're not paying them off. Now, obviously, they want to pay them off with touchdowns, but man, take the points when you can get them. That's one of the biggest things I can say for Philly. The other thing defensively, who the hell is Philly? Last week, they played an amazing game, but we're looking at, in our numbers, they're the 31st overall defense. We show them 23rd against the pass, 17th against the rush in season data, but looking at that 15-game sample that we always talk about, they're 31st. So I have a lot of questions here, but I agree. There's a lot of questions on Tampa Bay. One of the things that jumped out, I'm seeing this kind of rhetoric go on right now online around quarterbacks that are overperforming. So what is their average EPA per play and what is their current EPA per play? And there's like this, conversation around this quarterback's going to regress. This quarterback is actually underperforming. I'm here to say we explored this years ago. It's actually something in our model. And what we found is optimal is both parts have information. What does that mean? It means that their career EPA has information and their last 10 games has information, and they show different things. But something that's jumping out of the page right now, Baker's EPA per play in the last last 10 games, 7.9 points added per game. His career, 2.2. So you tell me, I mean, our model's telling us that both of those pieces are informative, and we use both of those. But when we're talking about regression, he's playing light years ahead of where he has in his career. But that being said, his career has been pretty wild. So, in that sample, he's got, a start on a Thursday night with like a day of prep on a new team. He's been thrown out to the Wolves and the Browns. Like, so I don't know. I just thought that was quite interesting. I don't know what we're going to get out of Baker. He looked like dog shit last week. That team looked really bad last week. So against a rookie quarterback. So, I mean, these teams are just question marks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And am I reading this right? Someone fact check me here, but I'm seeing something that the Eagles actually have one of the worst rushing efficiencies on a per play basis. Is that right?
My numbers I have for our EPA per play on offense is their 16th.
On net EPA, I'm talking about rushing specifically.
Yeah, rushing EPA 16th. That's what's in our numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
they're the 8th best offense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to the point about injuries, like if those skill position guys are out, and Saquon is basically the only guy left who can do anything. Yeah, you obviously know Tampa Bay is going to key in on that, but yeah, Steve, I don't know, man. Help us out. Like, what are we missing here, or is there an angle that we haven't talked about that you're thinking of for this one?
I cannot help you. Only the football gods can help you on this one. Yeah,
only the football gods.
Yeah, I'm with you. This one is just listen. I know people come here, they want to hear us spew out information, give sharp advice, help you think better about bets. I think my best advice for you is stay the hell away from this game. There are so many better bets this week that, at least from our perspective, my perspective, I feel like I can confidently say one way or the other. I look at this thing, we talked about how the Eagles really shut down the Saints, but who are they really defensively this year? Are they going to be good going forth and now? But it does bring up a good point about game plan, because Seth, like you called out, I mean, the Broncos shut down the Buccaneers last week. They held them to an average of negative 0.373 EPA per play, and that is not good. That's bad, right? And so when you look at it, though, what they did was they pressured Baker all game long. And so if I'm Philly, I'm watching that film and saying, yo, let's do that. Right now, can they execute? That's obviously going to be the big question, but we saw it in them doing against the Saints. So it makes me believe that they may or may not be possible, which is scary if I'm a Tampa Bay backer on here. But overall, this to me, it seems like kind of a fluke for both teams until proven otherwise. I think that Tampa Bay had a fluke of a bad game. Philadelphia had a fluke of a good game. And I'm not really sure I'm ready to deviate too much from what we've seen the first two games, which is why for me, I'm just staying away from this thing.
Yeah. And to maybe I'll just add one last point on that. So going back to what we talked about in the New Orleans and Atlanta game. So both Philly and both Philly and Tampa Bay rank number 30 and 29th respectively in their scripted play EPA per play. So if there is something that I might keep my eye on, it's maybe a first half or first quarter total, if anything. I don't know how that would work into the spread equation of it, but 7.5 is the over under for first quarter. Kind of tight for my blood, but
well, Sirianni ain't kicking field goals, so
yeah. First half 20, you can get a 22.5 under 22.5 at FanDuel. So that one,
he would have won the Atlanta game if he kicked field goals. He's lucky that the Saints picked themselves. And I mean, this is crazy. So you're saying under what is the total? 21
for first half total? You can get a 22.5. That's the best price in the market right now at FanDuel. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm not. This is another one too.
The problem is no defense. Like, you have 16 players injured in Tampa Bay. I mean, and a lot of it was injuries. We saw a rookie be able to move the ball at will last week. I think you're going to get a lot more offensive firepower out of Philly. So I'd be careful there, because I don't know with the injuries if Tampa Bay has the pieces that can take advantage of these offensive big name injuries. Lane Johnson out, Devontae Smith out, AJ Brown. So they might struggle offensively, but do they have, like, their whole defensive line is basically injured? Can they actually get the pressure to make the difference here. Whereas, it looks like Tampa Bay's defense might be the issue, and Philly can just do whatever they want. And then all of a sudden, it's 48-0.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the play here is under kicker field goal attempts.
Dude, Sirianni, dude, I don't know. He's supposed to be the analytics guru. I know for a fact a lot of the he went for it on plays where the math says to take the field goal. I don't know what he's doing. He's like got like analytics overload.
It's that new football, baby.
But this is like the new football. This is like hitting on 20 football. This is like splitting tens football.
All right. Well, from this matchup, moving on to one guy who definitely seems to know what he's doing so far this year for the Bills, and that's Josh Allen. Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. This one should be fun. This one definitely should be fun at the very least. So starting off again from our perspective, we show a little bit of value on the Bills side. We make the number one. But yeah, for Josh Allen, I think Seth, last year, I think he started to kind of quiet a lot of the, we'll just call them haters for lack of a better word. And this season, I forgot to check before we started recording, but he's got to be at least maybe the co-favorite for MVP, in this early go of the season. Yeah. He's playing out of his mind. He's playing really, really well. And I heard an interesting, I guess, angle or narrative, and it's something that's hard to quantify, but it was that because of Stephon Diggs' departure, star receiver who was always bitching about something over there, that Josh Allen's turnovers are down because he does not feel compelled to feed hungry mouths. Everyone's just kind of content playing the role, and that seems to be the case. 16 different players already have caught a pass for Buffalo. So he's distributing like crazy. So breaking down this matchup here, what sticks out, and are there any angles that you're thinking about for how to play this?
Yeah, I mean, this is strength on weakness. This has got shootout written all over it. We're looking at Baltimore. They are the number one rushing offense going up against the 28th rushing defense in Buffalo. So Baltimore can run the ball. Buffalo can't stop the run. Now on Buffalo's offensive side, number one passing team, and what do you know? Baltimore's 27th pass defense. So Buffalo is going to probably be able to throw the hell out of this ball. Baltimore is going to be able to run the hell out of this ball. This is going to be, I think, the Chiefs Buffalo matchup of 2 years ago. I think there's going to be a lot of points here. To your point, I mean, Buffalo is otherworldly right now. 74% echo rate, 74% of their drives are getting either 40 or better. I mean, that is next level. I think the question mark we have here is, what are we going to get out of Baltimore? They had a kind of a slow start. They obviously made it out of Dallas. And shout out Steve. I resonate with what you're saying. Like I feel like the model has been on all of their epic meltdowns. This is one of the first times we weren't on this meltdown, and I kind of wanted to just see the ship go down just for old time's sake. But man, they just don't know how to close out games, it seems like. And they got out of that one alive. But what are we getting out of Baltimore? Yes, they look good. We talked about it on here. We called that out. That was the game. It was going to be easy for them to get right on the ground. It looks like that might continue here, to be honest. So I'm not expecting them to change. I think they're going to try to run the ball, and I think they're going to have success running the ball. Will it be enough to keep up with Josh Allen and the Bills? Because they look damn good against Jacksonville. And when you're able to get a lot of your EPA and your progress and success from throwing the ball, that's a lot easier in a game plan. You get more explosives. You can kind of pull away a little bit more versus the kind of ground and pound game. So I'm surprised that this is still sitting at 2.5. I would have thought we would see some support for Buffalo, especially since we don't really know what we're getting out of Baltimore. I'm concerned if I'm a Baltimore fan on the defensive side. This does not look like the defense we saw last season. They are regressing fast away from where they were. Last year, they were the 6th overall defense. They're first against the pass, 11th on defense. So they're not bad here, but like they are slowly moving in the opposite direction. And for me, I think I'm a Josh Allen lover right now. Like he looks on fire. I don't see a reason to fade it. And I think, unfortunately, this is where Buffalo is going to, I think, continue in the air.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this line and my first thought was make sense. How are you not taking Buffalo points? How are you not taking Buffalo money line? I mean, listen, I get it. Buffalo so far, they've beaten a toolless Dolphins for, whatever part of that game that was. They were already had it in control. And the Jaguars, sure, that may not be an impressive win. Cardinals, we'll still see how this season turns out. But how do you trust this Ravens team, right? I mean, we just talked about them. Here we go again, right? They blew a 10-point lead against the Raiders in the fourth quarter. They damn near blew a 22-point lead against the Cowboys. And the difference for us, we already talked about last week, this was the get right game, blah, blah, blah for Dak. But on the Baltimore side of the ball, this was their chance to exploit the running game. And they did. But here's the difference for me. So Buffalo or the Ravens won that game against the Cowboys, right? But the Cowboys are worst in the league at stopping the run. Buffalo's not. Buffalo is above average, ranking 12th in the EPA per rush on defense. So I can't wrap my head around this one because you have all the pieces to really kind of make it a little bit difficult for Buffalo, or excuse me, for Baltimore to get into this without any of the sort of handouts that we saw Dallas give. And then my final point is, again, like stuff like you had mentioned, this is a Buffalo team that is continually rolling, and we kind of know what we're getting. We've seen this team get strong as the game goes on. So I really don't know how you don't take money line, and you better believe if by some miracle, somehow, Buffalo is down by a touchdown in the fourth quarter, I am running to my phone to live bet a money line bet. Yeah. I don't care if that's responsible or not. Until proven otherwise, that is going to be a sort of no-brainer for me against this Baltimore team that has just shown, for whatever reason, they cannot sustain the lead and they cannot get out of their own way with these meltdowns.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. The only thing I other put here is at a 2.5 number. If you're forecasting this to be a shootout with the new math you're talking about, a two ends up being a key number, right? Because you're going to you're either going to lose because you're going to lose by 4, or you're going to cover because they're going to win by 2. And we saw in that Kansas City game, unfortunately, it didn't go, or I guess we didn't have a play in that game. But the moment that touchdown was scored, even though it got pulled off the board, they put the 2s up. They were going for 2. So I think Harbaugh is going, if it comes to a shootout and you see them be in a position to basically tie it or go for 2, they're going to go for 2. So market really hasn't moved off as far as the over under goes, basically sitting at 46.5 and kind of open there as well. So I am with you. I'm with you both on this one. I think it's going to be a chess match at best, but I think both offenses will probably be able to play their strengths with relative success. So the only thing I'll say is there's a reason you use the 15-game rolling sample, and it sucks, and you don't want to do that because it just kind of messes with your mind. But there's a reason that's the most predictive. And when I say that, because all it does is take 1 week and you start to see regression back to where they are in that sample. And right now, Baltimore has been playing defensively very different than they have in that 15-game sample. They've been playing much worse. So I just want to caution, you can all of a sudden be like, oh, well, where did that come from? And it's like, well, because they over a larger sample, they've been really good. The question becomes, do they still have the pieces to do that? I don't know, but I don't know that they're going to sustain this kind of shitty defense. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, all of a sudden you see them quote unquote get right.
Yeah, makes sense. Should be a good nightcap though. Sunday night game should be.
This will be a good game. I'm excited.
Yeah, at the very least. So, all right, that's the Sunday slate, and then it's a doubleheader Monday night. We're not going to go over both, but we're going to go over, in all likelihood, the better matchup in game here. So, last one of the matchups for us to break down. We got the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions here. Again, we make the number 5 here. So when this was at 4.5, we don't show any value on either side. But shout out Geno Smith. Damn, I don't know, was this 2 years ago now? I'm losing track of time, but we were basically calling, the clock's going to strike midnight on Geno, and his, how he was performing with his kind of early stint with the Seahawks. And on a per play basis, he was outperforming kind of what his career arc had been up until that point. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but he's basically proved that wrong since he's been in Seattle. And early going so far this year, he's playing well. So when you think of this matchup, are you thinking points again, Seth? Because this one for me also, when I was looking at some numbers, I'm like, I don't know who's going to stop who.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and to your point with the Geno, right now they're the 13th best passing team. And in our game, in our 15 game sample, we have them as the 13th overall offense. So he's kind of playing right on where they were. Now they've struggled rushing the ball, 25th rush offense right now. But to your point, Detroit has not been able to fix their defensive woes. I feel like this is like their third at bat trying it year after year after year. We're like, okay, they got the offense. Are they going to be able to get the pieces? And every year they add a couple, and you're like, okay, this is going to be it. And it just doesn't seem quite there yet. They're 21st against the pass. They're doing pretty well against the rush, third overall stopping the rush. And then to your point, Detroit, I don't know. This wasn't on my bingo card. 21st passing offense, but fourth rushing offense. Goff is struggling a bit, but they're moving the ball through on the ground there. And to your point, I don't know what we're getting out of Seattle. 29th last year defensively, but this year, both their pass and run defenses are top 10. So are you going to see regression in this game? Is this the game Detroit kind of takes a step forward? We saw that a little bit last week against the Cardinals. They had a little bit more success. Is this kind of the trend where Detroit kind of can start to get going offensively and then maybe take a step forward defensively? That I don't know. But Geno, I agree with you. I think Geno has kind of he's proved a lot of haters wrong, including Steve.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, I will be happy to admit when I am wrong. That's the one thing I want to bring to the internet while my time on Earth is here. I want to say, hey guys, I was wrong. But yeah, you look at this, and this is kind of the ones where, for me, the jury is still out on Seattle. Kind of we talked about before, like, are the Falcons good? Are the Seahawks good? I mean, don't look now, but the Seahawks are 3-0 and atop the NFC West. But to be fair, those wins were over the Patriots, again, a toolless Dolphins, and the Broncos, who, I mean, we did see them kind of shut down the Bucs, so maybe that's a little more of an impressive win now. But I'm just not sure what to make of it. For me, this is going to be the real game here. And Seth, you kind of hit it on the head there. Looking at just this season's EPA per play stats, and right, Seattle is good at passing the ball. They're above average, and Detroit, it's not nearly as elite. And then Detroit on offense, number one this season at running the ball, but Seattle is number 21st of stopping it for EPA per play on a rush. So, you do have a potential for strength on weaknesses for both teams, kind of like we saw with that Cowboys-Ravens game last week. So is there a possibility for a shootout? Is there a possibility to rack up some points potentially here? For me, this is something that I'm really trying to use to gauge where is Seattle this year. Are they the team that they seem to be early on, or can the Lions kind of correct course and really get back to the team we all expect them to be with preseason hopes and hypes?
Yeah, that's this one. This one is going to be fascinating because I think to both of your guys' points to an extent here. So Detroit is first in the league in overall success rate. So, but then juxtaposing kind of how their rushing and pass efficiency too. Somebody said it, but number 3 rushing success rate and dropback success rate, number 2. It looks like so far. So this one's similar to the Baltimore and Buffalo game. This market's pretty efficient. Of course, don't get it wrong, but 46.5 is still what the total's been sitting at, and really hasn't moved off of that, but. The square in me wants to hammer the over as well.
Well, I got some better bets for you.
Ooh,
I got some good bets for you. So this is we're going into week 4. It is time to break out the pass funnels, baby. And there is a team screaming in this game to basically hammer a lot of overs if you want to be a square. So I think if we want, we can introduce one of our new tools that we kind of started to build in the offseason, and it's ready to go to unleash. What we're looking at here is 2 different graphs. And
is it possible to zoom?
Sure. I'm trying to show both.
Yeah.
So I can show one at a time. Here, let's do that. And then hopefully it's more clear. So let me start with this one, because this is the graph you would have seen us talk about last year. And this is your classic pass funnel. And this is what you're looking at. You're wanting to look at defensive EPA for rush and pass. And on your y-axis here, we're looking at EPA per rush, where bad defenses are up here, good defenses are down here. And then on your x-axis, we're looking at EPA per pass. And what we're seeing is these are good pass EPA teams. These are bad pass EPA teams. So what we're wanting to do is target teams down here, because what these teams are something special. These are teams that are really, really, really good at stopping the pass. Their EPA per play is stopping the run. Their EPA per run or rush is really good. They stop it very well, but their EPA per pass is actually it's below average. They struggle stopping the pass. And so you're wanting to target teams that are going up against these teams because you're probably going to want to throw the ball more because they suck at stopping the pass, but they're really good at stopping the run. So what we spent a lot of time developing, and shout out to Parker and others, Tage, we got introduced to this idea of game plan variance. And what game plan variance is an idea that tells us here on the x-axis how much is a team changing week to week on how much they run and pass. What this tells us is how aggressive is a team going after these matchups that we talked about. Because just like pass funnels, up here, you can have run funnels, right? You can have teams that are really good at stopping the pass, but horrible at stopping the rush. So you may want to run it more in those games. You can see that this is kind of a validating idea because the two most injured teams with injured quarterbacks have a lot of game plan variance because week one, they had healthy quarterbacks. And then when they had to go to their backups, they had to run it a lot more, right? So you can see Miami and Green Bay kind of jump off of the chart, but that's because of those injuries. But what are the plays here? You can see the Lions are clearly a pass funnel defense. And what do you know? Seattle is a little bit above average EPA per play, but they are very much above average in game plan variance. This is a team that is heavy on going after matchups. They're going to go after this pass funnel. They are going to be throwing the ball. Now, the question is, how do you actually target it? Unfortunately, we're recording this here on Wednesday, so we don't actually have the Monday night props up yet. Unfortunately, we have all of the Sunday night games. The things you want to be looking at are you want to be looking at receptions, completions, and if you want yards. But the yardage part gets a little hard because the game plan, really the thesis is the game plan is these teams will be throwing it more, right? So you want to capture things like completions and attempts because those are directly like, okay, I threw the ball 35 times. That number should go up. Versus yardage, they could throw the ball 35 times and still end up under yardage. Now, it's less probable the more they throw it, but that's where there's some nuance. So the way that we do this is we run simulations on Unabated. Shout out Unabated. Use code BTB for 5 days free. We find where there's EV in the games we're looking at. So we're wanting to find expected value for any of the receivers or Geno in the Seattle game. And then once we find EV, we bet those markets. And so we don't have exact bets for you right now, but we're going to be, I'm sure, on Geno's attempts, Geno's completions, and then probably one or two of the wide receivers completions and maybe yards.
Yeah, this is really dope. I mean, we've been having conversations about this for a little bit, like to your point, even back into the off season. So one hopefully good, pretty nuanced value add, for our subscribers, and shout out. This is from our website, btb-analytics.com.
Yep.
It is on the paid side for now. So our members
Yes.
have access to this. If you guys are interested in joining, we have season long, monthly long packages as well. You get access to all of our NFL model predictions, college football model predictions, as well as nuanced and other angles and data that you can use to help make better bets. So shout out. Yeah, we're excited to see how this can impact.
So one thing I want to add here is there is one other team that's a pass funnel team, and that's Baltimore. We can see this team is set up for that. Now you can see here the reason why we did the game plan variance is because we want to see, is Buffalo a team that's going to go after this matchup? And as of right now, Buffalo's kind of telling us, you know what? We are who we are. We're going to do what we do. So you need to know, okay, well, is this a team that runs a lot or passes a lot? Right now, Buffalo is kind of a neutral team. They're not really throwing the ball a lot more than average. They're not running the ball a lot more than average. So to me, it's a bit of a stay away. But I did go ahead and look at this market because this is a Sunday night game. So we do have these numbers. There is some expected value on the yards over 228 minus 110 at bet 365, 6%. Like I said, I really wouldn't caution betting the yards market. You can get over 3.5 receptions minus 130. It's about 10% EV for Dalton Kincaid, over 3.5 receptions, and completions for Josh Allen over 20.5 minus 115 is about 3% EV. So those were two that in the simulations were expected value. If you believe that Buffalo is going to go after Baltimore's pass funnel, then those are some EV plays that you can look to place.
All right, shout out! Look at that, giving you guys value in real time. So excited again for this to be rolled out, and we'll talk about this to an extent either every week on this show, or we'll be putting out some other content on our socials surrounding it as well. So good stuff as always. All right, that'll do it for matchup breakdown. Let's just spend maybe just a minute or two max, and then let's get into one of our new segments here. So let's zoom out. Let's look at the league through 3 weeks here. Okay, yeah, I mean on a per play basis, like. Is anyone surprising you guys? And heading into the matchups for this coming week, is there a team where you're like, yeah, we gotta pay attention to them. We gotta pay attention to them more than maybe we have been to date.
Yeah, I have 2 shout outs I want to call out real quick, and this is going to kind of tie into our next segue. But first and foremost, look at that Bears defense, baby. Look at that Bears defense. It's only a matter of time before Caleb gets a little bit better. Caleb he needs improving day by day. Now, listen, the offensive line starts its woes. Offensive game plans got to be better. But I'm telling you, the Bears are on the right track, because my next team that surprised me that we got to be on the lookout for is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers. And how ironic is it that Justin Fields goes from the Bears to the Steelers, a team that, quite frankly, is exuding the 1985 Chicago Bears philosophy.
Yeah.
Great defense. I don't care who's that quarterback. Just don't lose the game for us. We got it. Don't worry about it. This is a team I think you got to be on the lookout for. It's not going to be sexy, not going to be pretty. I'm not going to want to watch the games, but they're definitely someone you got to keep an eye out for.
Okay. Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the Saints, I understand where they are here in the quadrant of elite. In a 15-game sample, they're one of the 4 teams in the quadrant of elite. Can you guys guess, other than the Saints, the other 3 teams? I bet you can.
Chiefs,
Niners,
yes. Bills.
They're just outside. The Niners are just outside. Bills,
Ravens.
Ravens. So those are the 4 teams that are firmly in the quadrant of elite. Now, to your point, right on the outside is Dallas. They're good offensively. They struggle defensively right now. And then San Francisco is a little bit better offensively than Dallas, but still right on that edge. So look, I know they took a step back last week, but this is a team that I think little by little, like every game we get a bit more data, they become a little bit more of a team that's like, holy shit, keep attention, pay attention to them. And then Washington. It's clear Washington's offense is the real deal, but what nobody's talking about is how horrible their defense is and how unsustainable what's going on. Their echo rate is 67%. I was texting with Alex saying, congratulations, like you're killing it. You guys are doing great, like amazing. And he said, yeah, that's great, but don't tell me about the defensive echo rate. And I just thought that was funny. And this is something to keep an eye out. I mean, they're amazing through 3 weeks. Can they sustain that offense? I mean, 67% echo rate is intense, but what no one's kind of talking about is their defensive echo rate is almost just as high. I mean, this defense is stopping nobody. And so that wasn't on my bingo card for sure, because looking at a Dan Quinn team, you would think it would be literally the opposite, right? A really good defense. Maybe they struggle offensively. No, that's not what's going on here. And then is the Red Rocket back? I'm going to be the contrarian. I'm going to be the douche. 1 game. That's great. This game, his play is way better than Bryce Young. I'll give it to you. But this team overall, I don't think they can just flip a switch week after week after week after week, and they're going to have a lot of success. Can they move that into 2 weeks of success? We will see here, but I would use a lot of caution before you go burn all your money on Carolina. I mean, the Red Rocket may be a backup for a reason.
Yeah. And then can I make one more point? Can you pull back up the EPA landscape that we have there? The 49ers, you kind of hints on this about them being just outside the quadrant of elite with that defense. Can we just talk about real quick this whole Steve Wilkes firing, right? I mean, this whole, Super Bowl scapegoat, and we got to be better here. This team has not looked the same. Now, of course, you got Dre Greenlaw, he's injured. You got some, toward the Achilles, you got some big names missing that point. But man, oh man, it just certainly seems like there may have been a mistake in a coaching decision in San Francisco.
Someone's got to be the fall guy,
Injuries, right? Like off.
Yeah, no, Jake Greenlaw. Yeah, those huge.
And defensively, yeah. I don't know. This is a wild landscape. I will say the 15-game EPA, maybe we'll show that next time. does explain way more of the quote unquote league. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in the quadrant of good defense, bad offense. So it explains a lot more of what we're seeing where like, oh, everyone's struggling. I don't know where. I feel like the media is so lazy. Like they just get an email. Like, we're going to talk about this topic. Like, what are we talking about? Like, the scoring isn't any different this year than it was last year. So why didn't we talk about it last year? I'm just very confused. But yeah, there's a lot of teams that are quote unquote good defense, bad offense. And like, that explains a lot of what we're seeing here. I don't think it has to do with cover two. Cover two has existed for a long time, and it's existed in the way it exists for the last couple of seasons. So, and I mean, and then they have the audacity to tell you that while you're watching, Washington, Cincinnati, where it's like literally just straight shootout. And then at the same time, Josh Allen is fucking torching the Jags. Like, it just, the narratives in the NFL to me are like so perplexing, where you're like, holy shit, this is like, it doesn't even have to actually match what's actually happening. It's pretty wild.
Nope. All right. Let's introduce a new segment here real quick. So we did this for college, and we're going to do it for NFL every week here. We're calling it Off the Numbers. And basically the three of us are going to make take a play, a pick. It could be on a side, a total, money line, a prop, if there's some up. And we're just going to kind of have a friendly competition throughout the season. So let's get in bragging rights for sure. Yeah. So we don't have any.
I intend to win.
We'll see, my friend. We'll see. So do we all. Let's bust this out. Seth, why don't you lead us off here? So what is your off the numbers pick for this week in the NFL?
Off the numbers, I'm going to keep my Glaze Fest going since New Orleans Saints. I went back and forth. Do I take the points? Do I go ahead and just take the money line? I think what I'm going to do here in a divisional matchup this early in the season, I'm going to go ahead and just take the money line. I think there's enough variance for me here, and what I'm seeing, our model leans in that direction. So that's a big, huge deciding factor for me. But I just don't see. What I think here it is that we're going to be able to get pressure. Their defensive line is going to be able to get pressure. It looks like that's when Kurt's the most uncomfortable, and I think that kind of low or slow drive kind of trend we're seeing at a 40% echo rate for Atlanta is going to persist here in this game. And then I'm just saying that I think that we're going to continue to see the Saints progress offensively. We saw them take a step back last week, but I think we can progressively see them kind of get back to where they were in the first 2 weeks. So I like Saints money line. I don't know. What's the best number I can get? I haven't actually bet it yet.
Saints money line?
Yeah, Saints money line. It should be like plus 230, plus 235.
Best. No, money line. What are you talking about? No, the spread's like 1.5. So yeah, you can get plus 115. Looks like the best.
Oh, aren't they plus 2? Plus 2.5?
The Saints are plus 2.5, plus 2 in some markets. Yeah.
Okay.
So
plus 115 is the best number I can get. All right, plus 115 it is. Let's go.
Shout out. All right, Steve.
Did I learn? Is it Who Day?
Who dat?
And little
Bengals or Who Day?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll get it right.
All right, Steve. You're up next. Off the numbers pick for NFL this week. What do you got?
Yeah, so I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers -1.5 over the Indianapolis Colts. And here, this is what we talked about before. It's the defense. The defense this year for Pittsburgh has been absolutely suffocating. We've seen this, starting out with the Falcons. You thought, okay, the Falcons are whatever. Then they kind of go on, and we see the Kirk Cousins and then offensive play kind of improve. But they're number 2 this year in EPA per play overall. The Steelers are, and what I'm really honing in on is it's not going to be sexy, but Justin Fields gets enough done. And really against a rookie quarterback, we talked about this last week. Yes, Anthony Richardson in the second year. He's not had 6 starts. All intents and purposes for our model and really our classification, we're calling that a rookie. He is the 30th ranked quarterback on the PFF grades. Justin Fields sneakily is actually tied for number 8. Again, the eye test does not look great, but he gets what needs to be done. And being backed by this defense is all they need. So I'm taking Anthony Richardson woes. I'm taking Indianapolis Colts woes and Pittsburgh Steelers defense to play strong, still curtain all day. -1.5.
Okay. I'm up next, and apparently I'm the only sharp one at the group here because my pick is Commanders +4.5, and the market has agreed with me. Market's at 3.5 now across the board. So Yeah, this one, to your point earlier, Seth, about the Commanders and their offensive prowess, but then defensive woes, and very similar setup or very similar team structure with the Cardinals. They've been performing well offensively speaking, but defensively, whew, it's been a struggle for sure. Both teams are coming in here and now dealing with some injuries. I think more notably on the Cardinal side, probably playing into a little bit of the line movement here. Trey McBride has got a concussion. He's probably out. They're down to the third string right tackle.
Jeez.
And then on the Commander side, they got a couple guys out, like Austin Eckler, I think is going to miss the game or whatnot. But in a potential shootout, this has again one of the, I think, the highest over under of the week at 50.5. So in a potential shootout, at least what the market is kind of predicting, I like the team who's laying points. And, high variance with Jaden Daniels and a rookie quarterbacks, generally speaking. But I have not seen enough from this Cardinals team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, to really feel confident, despite me being a homer and a Cardinals fan. I just like what the Commanders are doing. And Cliff Kingsbury, he's just got a weird knack for being kind of a quarterback whisperer, at least in the early years of his career. We had a very similar, like I'm having deja vu type shit that, when he was with Kyler Murray for his rookie of the year, and you're seeing some similar shades of that with him and Jaden Daniels. So give me Commanders plus 4.5. I think it's gonna be a slam dunk. So let's
I don't
recap.
think you're sharp. I just think you're just insecure about your team, but we'll see.
All right.
I think it's cheating. I would go take a step further. This reopened at 3.5 after Monday night. Yeah. This actually opened at 3.5. You can check the logs. You're getting an extra point of value. She's like Grinch stole Christmas out here. But I'll give it to you. I think you're right. Also, the Cliff Kingsbury angle back in Arizona. Or I don't know if it's in Arizona, but
it is.
Playing the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I could get it, but I don't think you can't even get a 3. You could only get a 3.5 at open. You could never get a 4.5.
Well, okay.
Mic drop.
I'll roll with it. That's okay.
Hey, next season we'll get referees for the off the numbers. We'll see if there's any flags in the play.
I could be wrong. The only reason I know that is because I had to rerun the model on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I remember I had.
In fact, you are wrong. I got a circle right now. You want to get fact checked, baby? Let's go.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's hear it.
This opened at 6.
It opened at 6. No,
it was one of those things like for a couple minutes and then boom.
Look at Circa. Circa's really good about it.
All right, fine. We just got to do this, guys, real quick since Seth is.
I'm being difficult. There's no way 6, and it's at 3.5.
Okay.
3.5. Arizona Circa.
What am I looking at here?
Right here.
See what loading.
I see? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you see, but you can't see dates.
Yeah. No. What are you talking about?
Yeah, on the 22nd. The game wasn't even played on the 22nd. It was played on the 23rd. And
when did I make this bet
off the board? And then they reopened it on the 24th at 3.5.
All right. I don't know when I made the bet. Well, let's meet in the middle. Okay.
Okay. Whatever. The game, they hadn't even played Monday Night Football on the 22nd. It's my point. Shout out.
All right. We love facts here. Take home point.
All right. Whatever.
Look, in all your defense, I only know that because I literally have to stare at that screen to update when we open the model. So I know, like, okay, this is what the look ahead line was. This is what it was before the game. And then they always X out before the look ahead and then reopen it on the date. That's the only reason I do that.
Yeah. I guess that is one of the things from a top-down perspective where you got to really pay attention, because when the lines close and then reopen, there's a tendency for lazy books to hang stale lines. And so
100%.
All right.
If you can get
off the numbers in the books. Let's go.
Let's
Last but not least, baby, model predictions for week 4 in the NFL. So let's go. We got a few plays to rattle off. Seth, why don't you do the honors, my guy, and let's tell the good people what we got this week.
Yep. Week 4 in the books. I guess we have to do a better job. I have to do a better job. Recap. We went 3-3 last week, so 50% week. So far, the model is 9-7. I believe that is about 56 or 57%. I can't remember. Well, we basically had one winning week and then 2 50-50 weeks. Or no, last week I think we went 1-2. I can't remember what we did 2 weeks ago.
2-3. I think it was 2-3.
2 and 3. Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, it's, small sample size right now, but we're still profitable. So, that's all that matters. Okay. Getting into the action on Sunday, we have Cincinnati -4.5, Houston -6, New England +10.5, and New York Jets -7.5. So just 4 plays. You can see them here. Those are what we played. We got all of those at -110. And we've seen some agreement here on the Texans. That's already moved to 7. Patriots has moved to the 10. The 10.5 is just such a key part of that bet. As 10 being such a key number. The market has disagreed with us on Cincinnati. That is now sitting at 4. So you can get actually a better number than we bet. And again, I think the market is kind of freaking out about what you're getting out of Cincinnati. But I'm not a buyer of what you're getting out of the Red Rocket and the Panthers there. I don't say I'm happy about this bet because there are some concerning things that we're seeing specifically on the defensive side of Cincinnati. But I'm not sure if that same game happens on Sunday, if it's Cincinnati versus the Panthers, like the Panthers cannot have the same shootout that the Washington Commanders can have, in my opinion. I don't think they're equipped to do that, even though they made the Vegas Raiders look kind of silly, but I don't think they got that 2 weeks in them personally. The data do not support that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, not now. And one last point on this, betting into NFL markets, even at open, is difficult to do. It's most liquid and most efficient market in the US for sure, and probably one of the most efficient in the world. So
For sure.
when we lay out and we see things like a double-digit edge case in the NFL, rule of thumb again, generally speaking, you never have the edge you think you have, but nonetheless, it's one of those trust the process.
Yeah, based off our closing value, we have about a 3 to 4% edge. That's what we see basically in the reality, if you want to use that as a metric. So, and that's basically what we bet as far as our bankroll. We're betting basically, we assume we're about half Kelly on NFL. So, a full Kelly would put us right at that 3 to 4% edge.
Yep. Shut up. All right. Should be a good fun weekend. I'm excited. It's going to be a packed slate, and then I'm excited to come back and talk shit. Can't wait to flaunt my Commanders pick to you guys. So, all right, that will do it for us, guys. Week 4 is coming up in the NFL. Should be a fun one. We'll be back next week breaking down more matchups, more angles, more best predictions, best picks, etc. So, good luck to everyone. Remember, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you can. Helps us out tremendously. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Let's go Temple Owls.